And as you'll also notice, this is not the Valks Valley show any longer. Brian had an idea a few weeks ago to take advantage of the vigor of the Valkyries audience, and he thought Podhalla would be a good name, and I think it is a very good name. So we have changed from Valks Valley to Podhalla. We have a new logo, which you can see if you're watching on YouTube, and we are raring and ready to go. And Bri, since we are splitting the podcast and we're having both segments on the same podcast, we'll focus first with Valkyries because they're in season. Things are happening right now. The Warriors are in the off season, and during the Warrior season, if there's less Valkyries content, we'll probably flip that and begin the show with Warrior stuff and end the show with Valkyrie stuff. So, are you ready for your very first Podhalla segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, you've been on this one, which is, if the Valkyries make the playoffs, and more than likely they will be in the bottom 4 seeds if they do make the playoffs, and they're looking good right now, by the way. They're looking strong, and they're right there. There is a possibility that the second game of the first round series, which is a 3-gamer, will not able to be at Valhalla because of the Laver tournament, or whatever the tennis tournament is, that Chase Center is hosting. Sounds like it was a deal that was signed even before the Valkyries were in existence, all the way back in 2023. And it looks like they may be the tournament will not have started yet, but they'll be putting the courts together and everything. So it looks like the Valkyries may be pushed out of Valhalla for their 1-game first round series that they will host.
Bummer, but it sounds like it was something that was agreed to, before they even had a WNBA team. So it's kind of hard to be like you shoulda, coulda, woulda. But definitely, like, feels like a strong point for the entire season. They keep hammering it on the broadcast is another sellout, another sellout, another sellout, another sellout. It just feels unfortunate that a WNBA team for their playoffs will not be able to play in their home arena. And I understand that it was probably much worse in years past for other WNBA teams. Like, I think the Valkyries are very fortunate to have fallback options that are still pretty good options. I remember AT saying that, like, at the Mohegan, when they were practicing for the playoffs, they had to share the court with like a kid's birthday party or something like that. So just like, at least the Valkyries still have like Oracle, or what is it called now, Oakland Arena or something, and then the SAP Center to potentially fall back on. So that would be pretty cool. Either location. I think we maybe talked about this a couple months ago, and it's kind of a cool idea to get back into the original Oracle Arena. That, I think that would be electric. And then also just, if you do it in San Jose, like a guaranteed sellout. I think guaranteed sellout across the board. What's the seating look like in like seating availability in those arenas?
They're all pretty much similar. I think I want to say Oakland probably holds about 1,000 more. So if you're talking like 18 in San Jose, you're talking about 19 in Oakland, and I think Chase Center is like probably right in the middle of both or something. So I think there'll be enough seats.
Yeah, sellouts will happen regardless, but still a little bit of a bummer. But not.
Do we know why Oakland is not just the place? They have said from the beginning their home office is in Oakland. They are an Oakland and San Francisco team. Why wouldn't they just play in the Oakland Arena unless something has happened to that venue and I don't know if it's not good enough anymore, but the Warriors played there until 2019.
I'm trying to think if there was like a Globetrotters thing there. Like, I've got to imagine it's still available, but I don't know. Is the SAP Center, is it better?
The SAP Center is newer. The SAP Center is easier to get around. The Oakland Arena, like when you're walking out in the concourse area, like it kind of gets really thin in moments, so it creates a lot of traffic. I was just there, I want to say 2 years ago, And it's the same as it ever was. It's not a modern NBA arena, so I don't know what the reason would be to not go there, especially if you're calling yourself a San Francisco and Oakland team because of, the roots. Like, that's how they sold it to us. Remember when we went to that talk with Ohema and they were talking about the Oakland San Francisco thing? They wanted roots in both areas. So it doesn't make any sense to me to come to San Jose, even though for me, that'd be great because, I'm 10 minutes away from the SAP Center. But it just seems like Oakland is the easy win. I'm not sure why they just don't say that it's going to be in Oakland.
I agree with you. I just wonder if, TK in his little article made it sound like it's more than likely going to be SAP. So I wonder if there's conflicting events at Oakland, or if there's
I mean, it's
beef
not
with,
like that
with
place is
Joe pulling them
booked
out of there.
constantly.
I don't know. Maybe there's beef with the owners of the arena and Joe doing his own thing. Maybe there's like, screw you, man. We're going to charge an arm and a leg. I have no clue.
Sacramento seems like the third option, and I just think that would be a disaster. Who wants to
Oh,
drive
that
out
would
to
be
Sacramento
terrible.
on a weeknight? Leaving, what do you have to leave? 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you'll still get hit crazy traffic. Like, that just sounds like an awful idea.
Yeah, not nothing against SAC and their WNBA fan base, formerly the Monarchs over there, but I think the majority of your fan base is in the Bay Area.
Yes,
And yeah,
100%. So the other kind of story going on in Valkyries land, of course, the very important playoff positioning here. Now, the last time we recorded, I was like, okay, they need to split these Phoenix games. And you were like, no, they need to win both. And, realistically, you would love to win both. They lost the first game. I thought they played really well considering they were not hitting their three-pointers, which had been really the thing that has been carrying them of late. Like, they went from a 29% three-point shooting team to a 35% three-point shooting team. So they're making a handful more a game, and then they went backwards in the recent Phoenix game. They only lost by a few 7 points or whatever, but that game, it just kind of recentered me as far as my expectations because they were missing some key pieces. It doesn't surprise anybody, I don't think, that when Ceci Zandalicini is missing, like, okay, yeah, she's your best 3-point shooter. She's been cooking, and her loss was really, really felt. What did you think about these last couple of games, the Atlanta game and the Phoenix game?
I think the Atlanta one is tough. If we were to revisit your conversation about who do you want to see in the playoffs, it not being Minnesota, New York, and Las Vegas, that was a rough Atlanta game. It kind of felt like they were just better than us. Kind of, I know Ileana Rupert goes down, and that's where the swing, in my opinion, happens
Mhm.
because you try to punish Griner and Bree Jones for playing drop coverage, and having Rupert out there kind of punishes that because she can stretch the floor. So not didn't love that, especially it being at home. For the Phoenix game, though, I kind of feel like I don't know. So, did they say left calf strain for Zandalicini or a bruise of some sort,
I
and then
didn't
Tip was
see
just
a
rest?
reason. Tip,
It
okay,
was just
I
rest.
saw 2 things for Tip. The first thing that I saw was illness, and then the second thing I saw was rest, and I thought, unless she is fatigued or unless, um, maybe she wasn't feeling well, but maybe not well enough to be illness, like, I can't see why she wouldn't play. Everyone's gonna be tired, right? So I lean towards the illness thing. That sounds a little bit more reasonable than just rest, especially in this stretch of games where they are playing these games like playoff games, shortening the bench, playing their top players heavier minutes. So it didn't make sense to me that she would have just been resting for that game.
Like, I don't think the Valkyries are playing this in their minds of, oh, let's try to split this. Like, they're playing like they're trying to win both of them. But if you are trying to split this, I will say Tuesday was probably the best chance to split. You're at home, and it's the classic Valkyries where it's like it doesn't matter who's available. They're still going to be like kind of in the game if it's at home. Kate Martin kind of just stepped up and hit a ton of threes. But it's going to be, I got to imagine Phoenix is favored on Friday. They're at home. Valkyries, we don't know who's going to be available and who's not. So, we were, maybe I threw a bold prediction out there that they need to take both. You said split. They lost one. There's a very high possibility they lose both of these. Um, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, it was kind of my fear, but I always look at these things sort of in the worst case scenario vein. They had played who did they play before Atlanta? Was it
Chicago, they whooped
Whoop
them.
Chicago? Was it Washington before that?
I believe so.
And they were hot, right? They shot well, they ran away, and they looked great. Of course, lower competition. We talked about Atlanta and just the length and the size, and when Rupert gets elbowed in the side of the head, that makes if you're playing her as a stretch to kind of bring out the bigs, then yeah, that's probably the worst person to go down in those moments, even though she herself wasn't really they weren't really shooting all that well either. Um, but still, just the idea of the flow of the offense, like that whole thing that they were doing made a whole lot of sense. And then Burton went down as well, though she came back, and that seemed to kind of kill their rhythm there. The Phoenix matchup to me is better. I just feel like they play more of that style. Um, they can play their style fits better against Phoenix. The Atlanta game, they kind of got beat at their own game with the 3-point shooting, where Atlanta was just taking advantage and hitting clutch threes, and you're like, okay, if we're not making threes, we're not gonna. This outcome is in doubt, or this outcome is unsurmountable. The lead is unsurmountable. But the Phoenix game, I always kind of felt like, okay, if they could just make a run, we can do it, because the Valkyries play a very specific game. They slow it down. If they can rebound, then they control the ball. Phoenix is kind of up and down, and they kind of stunt Phoenix a little bit. But again, if you're missing so many players, then it makes it a little bit harder. I see there's like a difference in opinion on how well Kate Martin actually played the other night, because she had to play heavy minutes,
Really?
and a lot of people were like, she's shooting, she's killing it from the outside. I think she's like 4 of 11 or something. And then on the flip side, it's
Mm.
like, oh, she's the reason we lost. Like she couldn't pick up the slack or whatever. She is so interesting when it comes to the kind of the local analysis versus the national analysis. I think some of it is because she's so famous in the WNBA that the outside world just thinks of her as like, oh, she's Caitlin's buddy. Of course, she's cool. But like, I'm starting to see a lot of criticism from Valkyries fans about how she plays when she does have to play. Like, I think she's, like, social media wise, she's great. She seems like she's doing a really good job and is very comfortable in the community. She was in Us Weekly on their website the other day about fashion. So she's adapting well. But then when you have to play, like, the play has to match up a little bit, and she's, yeah, I don't know. She makes some shots, but I don't sense that she's a focal part of this offense when she's in the game.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we've stated multiple times. Like, I feel like every week we've actually kind of talked about her now. But we like her. We're fans of her on this show. But I think she needs to perfect that role of coming in, hitting a couple threes, and going out. It kind of felt like it feels like as of now she needs a like longer leash. She needs more minutes to be able to produce. Like, in my opinion, I thought she would, I'm not expecting her to be the best player at any point in the game, but I even though maybe the 4 for 11 you said, like, that's not great from the 3-point percentage, but I think that's over 33. So, but
Barely.
barely. But I think she's not like this super talented offensive scorer, right? It's really just the 3-point shot. There's no like middies, the driving stuff is kind of hit or miss. It's really just the 3-pointers. So if she can just come in for spot minutes and just be able to hit a couple threes, like, that's not to put a ceiling on a second year player, but I feel like, she's a what, 25 or 26. I think that that's probably going to be her game in order to stick in rotations. Like I think she could be in playoff rotations if she could just come in and hit a couple of those threes and go out. But when you expect more, I'm sure like any other role player, the flaws start to like appear a little more. What'd you think about Phoenix though? Because like you said, it seems like we kind of match up better against them. Whereas I'd argue maybe they're more talented on paper than Atlanta, but because they have Satu, Ka, and of course AT. And I think that was the first time we saw the Valkyries played against Ka last night or 2 nights ago, if unless I'm mistaken. I thought she was, I think she finished maybe like 9-19, but I thought that she was cooking. But I just checked right now because I was going to make a statement, but I wanted to have the facts, and actually turns out I'm wrong. Is that they're third in defensive rating,
Mhm.
but I kind of felt I wasn't that impressed with them defensively, and maybe that's Valkyries being at home, so they just always feed off the crowd and they're able to hit shots. But
Some of it
I
is
thought
just
that
their
they were able,
pace too, right? Because they slow the game down, and
yeah,
they offensively, they slow the game down so the other team, they can't just get out and run constantly if you have one team slowing it down a little bit. But, the other thing is they play such great, team defense, and Veronica Burton has been fantastic at, just stopping the ball, as much as she can. And the thing about going back to the Kate thing for a second, the one thing that I liked about Kate earlier in the season is that she was trying to do some things that were a little bit of like a slick basketball player who maybe is a little less athletic would do. So you saw a lot of pump fakes. You saw a lot of like fakes here and there with the basketball where she would actually get a little bit of space, and sometimes she would finish and sometimes she would not. Now it feels like she sees herself clearly as a corner three-point shooter, and if she doesn't get those shots up, she's not doing her job. And so sometimes it feels like she's forcing those shots because she knows that that's why she's in the game, and some of them she's not open, but she can still get the shot off, and others, I think they actually are good shots. A lot of the time where she seems to feel most comfortable is when she's shooting them off of a fast break, in a sense, where she can go to her spot and then they can find her. She seems really comfortable there, but in the flow of the
yeah.
offense, she does not seem very comfortable letting the ball go. So it does seem a little bit forced. Um,
It's like she's able to hit the ones that's like not expected, like you said, fast break or just kind of a quick one versus like an actual like setup in the offense, shoot it. And yeah, I
there's some
definitely saw that in the Phoenix game.
Rob was talking about Kayla Charles in the chat. If she could shoot from the outside, I think she'd be in the game now. But you see, the flaw in her game is comfortability with pulling up from the outside. Like, she had some opportunities in the last game, and there's a couple that
I think
I
she hit
think
one.
barely nicked the rim in later in the game. So I think if
She
she,
she tried to do a she tried to do a Kate where, shooting it unexpectedly,
yeah,
shooting it when maybe you're not supposed to.
yeah, like
Worst air ball of the season,
yeah,
probably.
like off rhythm or whatever to take advantage of the defense.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I think Charles would get more run if she could hit the three or hit the outside shot a little bit.
Yeah, she was a little impressive, in that game, and I really do wonder if there's a serious conversation of when everyone's back that Amihir is the one just because of positional depth
And
that
we saw them go small with the me here a few times. We'd been talking about it, and they have been doing that a little bit more because Temi keeps getting in foul trouble. So
jeez.
they've had to go and I actually like the look because she's so athletic and she just gets down the court so quickly, but they struggle with rebounding.
Yeah.
That's the things when you go small, of course you're not going to get the rebounds. If they don't rebound, they cannot get into their stuff, and then
That
it
kinda
makes
seems
it
like where the
harder.
game swung is, like, a combination of looks aren't falling, but then when Phoenix would miss, they just get the offensive board, and it's, like, so deflating.
Yeah. Okay, so then the someone who we are very much fans of, even though she hasn't stepped on the court in the WNBA yet, Juste Jocyte was at the game recently. They showed her in the crowd. She hit the drum. Um, and I've seen some quotes from her. Like I'm listening to her, and I sort of listened to her in the voice when she did the interview with her, like that same polished like 19-year-old voice. Man, but she was with Thornton. They were in one of the boxes, and I was just like, man, I wish she could just go put on a uniform right now. Like we could use her right now. Just have her line up, hit some middies, stretch the floor a little bit, handle the rock. Like I was like, we could just use her. She would be so good with the team right now.
Like, yeah, it was felt. She even said on the interview that at some time in August is when she would come over and I don't know, get introduced to the team and watch a game. So I think it's cool in retrospect that you see all these quotes about her coming out, and some of it's just stuff from that we already asked her about from our interview of like, it's like I already knew that because we already talked to her about it. But some of the stuff where she's saying she's been watching the Valkyries, um, I think that's pretty cool considering how busy it seems like her schedule's been after training for Eurobasket and then maybe taking a week or two off after Eurobasket, and now she's here. Like she's been keeping up with the season. She actually also posted like a video today, like one of those off-season workout videos, and I think there's a clear emphasis on strength and lifting weights,
Yeah, that's what she
which she
said.
talked about in our interview.
Yeah, that's exactly what she
So
said.
super exciting because I think she looks a little like, slimmer, and then you see like the women in the WNBA and they seem like more built. So
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing to be focusing on.
she's still so young
I
too.
mean, she's 19 years old, and my 19 physique versus or what my physique is now is probably completely different. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's completely different.
Yeah,
Yeah, super excited.
it's going to be so fun, and that's what's so great about this team is being so early and being there at the beginning. I imagine, and we've talked about this before, and we'll talk about this more during the offseason, but what the roster looks like next year versus what it looked like this year, and with the free agency and the WNBA and with the collective bargaining and with all that influx, just knowing that she is going to be on the roster next year, that is that is something that you can look forward to and go, okay, like we can look forward to that. She's going to be there. Um, One more thing before we get to the kind of the playoff positioning here. Uh, what what do you think of Carla Late's aggressiveness? Like I'm starting to see, she's always aggressive. Maybe confidence is the better thing. Her early in the season, her outside shot was just she couldn't find it. Now she's finding it more. She seems to be a little bit more comfortable. She's even getting the minutes alongside Burton. They're playing the 2-point guard look a lot lately. She still has the same issue. She's also very young. She gets bumped all over the court. But having two ball handlers seems to work well. And if she can actually shoot it, I think it's amazing. But I do like seeing her play with so much more confidence and seeing the results of that ball going in.
Yeah, I think her getting to play alongside Veronica allows her to be more like aggressive in the scoring side, kind of what we saw earlier in the season. Whereas, when they match her up with Tip, she kind of has to be the point guard. So since Tip was not available against Phoenix, I think we got to see a little bit more of her confidence in the outside shot. And, like you said, Carla's, I think she's 21 now, or she's still 20, but first year in the W, did the Juste thing where she didn't go her first year. And so this is her first year. And I think like any other rookie, you just need to see more time to get more comfortable and more confident. And I think she's kind of following that progression, which is very nice to see because I think she's going to be on the roster next year without a doubt. I think she's one of the protected players in the expansion draft. So you like to see that start of the season, you like to see a different result and a better result as the season progresses. Like I think we've even met, I know I always do this thing in the podcast where I'm like, I think we've talked about this before, but in the last pod or two, like I think I even said if you just grab her 3-point percentage post All-Star break, and I should have just done the number to check now, maybe I'll do it while you're talking and see if that's even available. But if you do post All-Star break or 3-point percentage, I gotta imagine it's above whatever cruddy percentage the
Mhm.
season is. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the 30s.
So Rob was asking in the chat if the WNBA is sticking to the 6 players protected. I mean,
We don't know.
we didn't know last year for like when the expansion draft was like the rules were not laid out very early on. Like I remember listening to what is now no off season with Sabrina and Ben and Zena, and they were just like, yeah, we just don't know the rules yet. The WNBA hasn't come out with these rules, so hopefully this year, hopefully because we just had the Valkyries experience and we know they're going to have to do it again, the rules will be out there a little bit earlier than they were, because I think people are going to be interested, right? Like they didn't even televise the expansion draft last year. Not that I don't know if they will this year or not, but you could at least run it on YouTube if you don't have a spot for it on one of the main channels. You could at least run it on your own league pass where, you know, a large majority of your hardcore fans are there already. But it's stuff like that where the W, you know, I will say this until I'm red in the face. They did not see the Caitlin Clark thing coming last year, and they were not prepared for it. So this influx of viewership and fandom, add to that the Valkyries selling out every game and helping raise the average attendance for all of the WNBA, which I think they just set a record for the most attendance in the history of the league. Like all of those things coming in these last 2 years, I still don't feel like the WNBA is necessarily ready for it. So next year, the new media rights deal kicks in. They get the extra money from the TV rights. Hopefully, they can continue to build the infrastructure with the league, and we can really see so how you would expect a pro sports league to be run. So that is my hope, and I know it's growing pains. Everybody goes through them. There's been such little support, I would say, for the WNBA previously, but now people see that the possibility of their investment coming to fruition. So now they're all interested. But it's like, man, you know, we could have been building this infrastructure. You could have seen like college basketball and Paige. Like we knew Paige was coming like 5 years ago. Like if you were watching women's college basketball, but just the fact that they weren't ready for Caitlin is kind of mind-boggling. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the playoff situation here. So I think this is right. I think I have the most updated, but I think the Valkyries sit 7th, one half a game above Seattle, who's kind of fallen a little bit, and they are a full game behind Indiana. The Aces have kind of distanced themselves, and you kind of wonder if the Aces are going to get into the top two, the top three, top two. They've been so hot of late. What do you think? Do you think we still have to worry about the Sparks and the Mystics? It would have been nice if Paige's 44 points could have closed out the Sparks the other night, but it did not. Kelsey Plum, no, thank you, Kelsey Plum. But where do you see them? They got the game with Phoenix coming up again. That is going to be a tough one, but you know, 7-8 seems doable. I'm just complete because of Bay Area sports right now and how the Giants just fell off the face of the earth. I'm kind of waiting for the possibility of that happening. I don't want to be surprised, but at the same time, I'm kind of confident in the way that this team is playing if they could just stay healthy.
I don't think you have to worry about Washington. They are, what is it? Where are the games back?
16 and
It looks
19.
like they are full 2 games back from the Valkyries. The Valkyries also hold the tiebreaker for Washington because I think we've beaten them all 3 times. And I don't know if they play again or not, but yeah, just looking at it, I don't think you have to worry about Washington. They're also down 11 going into the fourth quarter against Connecticut right now. I don't think LA's done with yet, although, like, say the Valkyries lose against Phoenix and LA wins their game, the Valkyries hold the tiebreaker, so they'd still be ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think that having that tiebreaker is going to be very nice to have down the line. Seattle, of course, is for sure still a threat, only being half a game above Seattle. So it kind of looks like your ceiling is 6 against Indiana, and of course they have a game against Indiana where they could also, you know what? I want to say they already have the tiebreaker because I think they only play Indiana 3
Yeah, they
times
won the
and they
2
beat them
games already.
twice. So I think you are just looking at 6 to 8, um, and that, of course, like you mentioned, it seems like 2 through 5 is still like can be anyone's. Can be like you could Vegas is 5 right now. They could end up in 2 by like tomorrow. So yeah, I think the Valkyries have after Phoenix. I think they have Dallas, and I think that I want to say they have a little bit of an easier schedule
So
for a little bit
I know
until they
next
face the back.
weekend they play at home back-to-back games. So not this weekend, but next weekend because I think we're gonna go Saturday to see Washington. Sunday, they play back-to-back. Sunday is Caitlin if she's back, and I would love to go to that game, but Sunday night's a little bit harder. But I think we're gonna go Saturday night, which is against Washington. So there's only 13 teams or whatever, so you're gonna either play one of the top 6 teams or one of the bottom 6 teams. Like that's just how it
Yeah,
is. And
exactly.
there is starting to be a little bit of distance though. If you look at about the top five are really kind of creating some distance between the bottom three. So Indiana, Golden State, Seattle, and the Sparks. It's there is a good top half and much better than the bottom half in this
Yeah.
playoffs.
So you got at Phoenix, at Dallas. There are not many left, so I'll just do the whole thing. At Phoenix, at Dallas versus Washington at home, Indiana at home, New York at home, Dallas at home, Minnesota at home, at Seattle, at Minnesota to close it out. So you're going to be able to have Dallas, Washington at home, and then you said there's a back-to-back for Washington to Indiana. Wouldn't surprise me if they won out all of those games. If depending on the result against Phoenix, if they win or lose Phoenix, then you have Dallas, Washington, Indiana. But then you do New York, and New York's going to be playing their butt off because of you look at that 2 through 5 right now, it being anyone's game, and then you get Dallas at home, and then I think you might have mentioned this not that long ago, but you wonder, considering Minnesota's completely distanced themselves, if any of those 2 Minnesota games at the end of the regular season, if they just like damn near forfeit and just put out some of their reserves because they want to give the starters rest heading into the long postseason or just the postseason. And so I wonder if any of the, you can, I don't think they haven't beaten Minnesota yet. So I wonder if any of those might change just depending on the product Minnesota decides to put out if they want to give their team some rest.
All right, that is
So
what are you gonna say?
yeah, I think that 6 through 8 is just probably what it's looking like, and you hope for 6.
Yeah, and that will wrap up the first ever segment of Podhalla.